And you saw footage there from Ms. Cheadle's appearance at Monday's House Oversight Committee hearing. Earlier, I spoke to one of that committee's members, Democratic Representative Raja Krishnamoorthi. Congressman, I just want to start with the question of what you make of the Secret Service director's announcement that she will resign.
I think it's appropriate. I think that she's not the right person for the job right now. In our hearing yesterday, she gave a series of evasive answers to very basic questions, including about the timeline. When I asked her as well about the fact that there were at least 3 warnings to the Secret Service as well as local law enforcement that a threat had emerged before shots actually rang out, and she wasn't able to properly explain why the Secret Service did not pause the rally, that suggested to me that it's time for her to go. And so I'm glad that she handed in her resignation today.
Questions remain unanswered, however. What do you still want to see answered then from the Secret Service?
Well, I still have questions about the individual in question, so to speak, Mr. Crooks. We need to understand his motives. We need to understand how he was able to get into that situation where he could actually successfully shoot at the president on the stage. As you know, he came within basically 1 inch or less of ending Donald Trump's life. The second question I have is, how could it be that we had a security perimeter drawn without the building in question as part of that security perimeter? It had a clear, unobstructed view of the stage. It was within rifle range of the stage, and yet it wasn't part of the perimeter. And so that's a big problem as well.
Do you still have confidence in the Secret Service?
I have confidence in the Secret Service. However, I think that at this point, we have to, as I like to say, Murphy's Law, every situation at this point that might be an outdoor rally, that might be a more complicated situation than an indoor secure building where the protectees might be delivering speeches. And I think at this point we have to assume the worst and plan for it accordingly.
From your position on the Intelligence Committee, Congressman, how great is the threat right now of further political violence as we're in the middle of an election campaign?
It's high, and that's the problem. Not only that, we are just weeks away from the Democratic National Convention, which is going to take place in my home state of Illinois, in Chicago. We have a new presidential candidate emerging on our side, Kamala Harris, who by nature of her own identity is unfortunately going to attract even more attention from potential nefarious actors. And so we have to be ready for anything. And so what happened with Donald Trump was completely unacceptable. And we have to recognize that, unfortunately, political violence is on the rise. And we in Congress have to do everything we can to tamp down tensions and condemn political violence of all kinds.
I do want to ask you about Kamala Harris. She held her first rally in Wisconsin today, a state that is, of course, as you know, very important to Democrats if they want to win in November. There is confidence that she can energize groups like young voters, Black voters, Latino voters. Do you think, however, she can appeal to working class voters in some of these key swing states like Wisconsin?
Yes, and I think we have to. And that's why I think it's very important for Vice President Harris to talk about those kitchen table topics that are so important to people, whether it's, how do we educate our children in this, world of new technologies? How do we access healthcare in an affordable manner? How do we make sure that we have jobs that equip us for the revolution that we're in so many different ways, globalization as well as technological revolution. And then finally, how do we make sure that we are in a safe community? That means that not only do we, dedicate more resources for law enforcement, but we also reduce gun violence through common sense gun control measures. Those are the issues, among others, including, for instance, reproductive freedom, which I think that she has to really drive home.
And we've heard her talk a lot about, of course, already. Last question, Congressman. Are you concerned about the fact that there is very little time from now until the election for Kamala Harris to make just that message?
No, I think she's going to be able to do it. We have 100 days until the election, so game on, Sumi. I think this is the time that We're going to have to muster all of our energy, all of our forces. She was able to raise, gosh, almost $100 million or more in 48 hours. That's like Elon Musk money, Sumi. And so we're talking significant resources that are coming her way. I don't think there's going to be any shortage of that. What we need to do is make sure that we're addressing the topics that people are thinking about every day and put our best foot forward. I think we're going to be successful.